So spring of anime 2019 has officially begun. Fruits Basket Episode 1 is here. Now, just to clarify a couple of things, okay? I am one of those individuals that actually have never seen the original source. For instance, I have never read the manga to Fruits Basket, and I have never have watched the original anime. Now, I have heard stories about the Fruits Basket anime. I've heard that the anime is good, but it kind of veers off from the manga, and it becomes like anime original or whatever, which disappointed a lot of manga readers just because of how high quality the manga of Fruits Basket is. So, this is honestly my first time I'm ever actually seeing Fruits Basket. I've seen bits and pieces, like at the first episode or whatever, but I've never really sat down and watched this series. Like, this is my first time really seeing it, and I'm excited. I've always been recommended Fruits Basket. It's something that has always been on my list to watch, or at least to read for a long time now, because everybody by now, a part of this community, knows I love romance. I love slice of life, and I may not always talk about it, I may not always review it, but I do love the genre. It's one of my favorite genres, and I always want something like that every single anime season, and so Fruits Basket is definitely what I want. It's the series that I want for romance slice of life, to fill in that little gap in my heart that the last season left. And this first episode, it's pretty good. I'm not gonna lie. It's a really good first episode. So let's get right into it. Now, I'm gonna be honest here. I want to be blunt. I know there's a big fan base and community behind this series, but I want to be very blunt on how I feel about it. I want to be fair, but I want to be blunt. Now, I know Fruits Basket is quite an old series, so it's been around for years now. I don't know when the manga came out. I would say around in the 2000s, like 2006, maybe 2008 or whatever. I don't know exactly when this series came out, but it was a long time ago. It's like been over 10 years plus since this series actually came out in manga form, and I think almost in anime form as well. It's been a bit. And the thing about this is that Fruits Baskets, even though it's obvious that this is an old series, you can even see by the first episode, it still holds up to this day. Now, what I mean by that is, it's clear that if you have, let's say, read a lot of romance manga or watched a lot of romance anime, you're going to see a lot of similarities to this first episode. There is a lot. Like, example, if you've ever watched Kami-sama, which I think everybody knows how much I love that series, hey Kami-sama, I like that. And if you watch that series, and let's say you haven't watched, Fruits Basket, you're gonna see the correlation there. There's a very big similarity to the first episode of Kami-sama to the first episode of Fruits Basket. It's really identical. Now, once again, I know for a fact Fruits Basket came first. I'm not saying Kami-sama came first, okay? I know Kami-sama is relatively newer than Fruits Basket. I'm just saying that when you look at the series, it is very similar to a lot of series that came out after it. But many probably have not watched Fruits Basket and have watched these other series, and this start to the series might seem very typical of the genre, which is kind of a good and a bad thing, because even though this might be one series that kind of set off this type of style of writing, or maybe the main female character, wandering around and eventually meeting yokai or, zodiacs, etc., maybe she might have kicked it off, like, this main female character, but even then, it's been used a lot ever since, and because of that, it's, like, at this point, very generic. And I'm not saying that this first episode is bad, it's just the style of it is something that I have seen quite often. And so, I don't want to be mean and just, tack points off to the series because of how similar it is to, let's say, Kami-sama, because, once again, this came out before it. So, I want to try to kind of overlook that for the most part. But anyways, if you do like Kami-sama, you're probably going to like this. And I do think that Fruits Basket, at least 2019's Fruits Basket, is probably going to be more for the fans of the original series and the manga than others. For instance, I think people that have read a lot of shoujo or have watched a lot of romance anime probably won't find this series, at least if this is their first time watching it, that interesting, because they probably seen a lot already, and this right here would be very typical. And so I think, like I said, this series is more geared for the original fans. which is fine. I'm glad, you know, the original fans of the series can actually enjoy a series getting properly adapted from the manga, which apparently that's what I heard. Apparently this, you know, anime is actually going to follow the manga and not butcher what content was within the manga. It will actually be a proper anime adaptation, which actually makes me very happy to hear. But okay, so what's it about? What's the first episode about? Well, the main female character, obviously, she seems really happy, bubbly. I like her character. She's not really anything too crazy, but she is a bubbly character. She does take life in stride, I will say that. Like, the life she had at the beginning of this episode, or at least for the first 70% of the episode, was pretty freaking rough. Because, I mean, let's look at everything. She had a mother, and her mother passed away. And instead of getting down and sad, like she probably did, but she didn't let it, like, you know, drag her down for a long period of time, she went to her relatives, and eventually her relatives like, oh, you know, I don't have time, I gotta go over here, so you need to stay with someone for a few months. And you see the main female character, she has to just live in a tent. She has to legitimately live in a freaking tent. And I want to be honest here. If that was me having to live in a tent like that, I would lose my mind. I would be so depressed and sad. I think many of us can agree if that was us having to live like that, we would be upset. So I am pretty impressed that the main female character was able to put up with something like that, not break down and start crying and just get depressed, and was able to also play a poker face and not let anyone know how her living condition was the entire time. That is very impressive. So, in terms of how our main female character is, she is someone that is very strong-willed, I can definitely see that, and she is definitely someone that likes to keep her problems to herself and doesn't want to bother others. Now, besides that, there obviously is some little setups here and there throughout the episode. Apparently, from, like, brief little scenes, it's clear that our main female character, she has met one of these zodiacs and has potentially made contact and forgotten about them. Forgot her relationship with one of them, like a childhood friend or something, and, you know, we're probably going to find out later on, which could turn out probably to be the main love interest of the story. Now, personally, at this time, I don't really know who the main love interest is, because, like I said, I've never, watched Fruits Basket, I've never read it, so I don't really know who the main male character is. I mean, usually it's the first main male character to be introduced, but I highly doubt the dude that's like the older one, the dog or whatever, is actually the main love interest. I really doubt that. If there's one, I think that's probably the main love interest, just looking at the context of the story from this first episode, I would assume it's the cat, because she does say what happened to the cat is very sad, it's messed up, and so I feel like she probably is going to choose the cat just out of what happened to the cat in the stories of the Zodiacs. And if it's not that, it's going to be Rat. It's one or the other. It's probably Rat or the cat, and I highly doubt the dog is going to even have a chance. I mean, there'll probably be some scenes, but overall, I think Rat and Cat are going to be the main love interest of the story. Now, speaking of love interest and stuff for these characters, they are Zodiacs. Now, this I already knew about, because I have glanced at Fruits Basket in the past. Like, you know, I was interested to see if I wanted to read it, and I never did, but I do know that at least all the characters, at least the male characters or whatever, they are Zodiacs. They are from the Zodiacs, like cat, boar, you know, dog, you know, rat, whatever. They're all of the individual Zodiacs, and more characters will be introduced. Now, if I'm correct, this series is a reverse harem, I believe. I could be wrong there, but I believe it is a reverse harem, and if so, that will definitely be something very different, because, I mean, most reverse harems I have seen in recent days or recent years is actually usually from, like, an Otome game. I think that's the proper title. It's, like, usually just a game with reverse harem. It's like an anime adaptation on a game, and usually it's reverse harem, and it really isn't that good in terms of plot, because it's mainly just, like, very abusive behavior or whatever. So, I do hope if this is a reverse harem, it won't go down that route, and we'll actually see some proper romance and build-up and all that. And, yeah. This is a series I've been looking forward to. It's like a secret series that I've been itching to watch, and I'm glad I could finally sit down and watch it. And I do look forward to the next episode when it comes out. Oh yeah, one last thing too I do want to mention before I wrap up this video. I did notice that this series didn't really modernize itself. Like, normally series that are, like, updated, remade, or whatever, sometimes they're modern, to where they have smartphones, different things you would see in the 2010s plus up, and I didn't really see anything like that. Unless I missed it, I didn't see anything like that that really made this very modern. We might see it in the upcoming episodes, but overall it seems like we're still stuck in the era when this was made, so that's interesting. I do like that. I mean, there's often a lot of series that do get modern, like they get modernized, and they are better. Like, for instance, let's look at Parasite, for example, that few years back when it came out, but I am pretty happy with how the start of this is, and how it's staying very true to what the original essence of Fruits Basket is. So that's about it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy my content, please subscribe. If you like this video, please leave a like. And if you want to get notified for whenever I upload a video, please click the bell icon down below. And once again, if you want more reviews of this series, let me know in the comments below. I'll keep reviewing it if you guys want more. It just really depends on that. But I love you guys. Be safe. Chibi out.